Now,
That's what.
for you watching this video, aren't you glad you clicked on this? Because I'm encouraged, I'm inspired. Welcome to the Israel Collective. I'm Raj Nair, joined by a person who has an amazing story, but more importantly, is just an amazing person. Blessie Hilgers, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Raj. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know, I just kind of want to get right into it, if that's cool with you. So
Absolutely.
you are 100% Indian, correct?
That's correct.
And
Yes.
I'm only 50, so only half as cool as you. But you grew up more or less in Saudi Arabia, correct?
Yes, I did. For the
And you
first 10 years.
and you had some pretty wild experiences as a daughter of church leaders in Saudi Arabia in the 90s. Could you just kind of walk us through some of your more incredible experiences?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so for the first 10 years of my life, I was a Bible smuggler, not by choice for most of it. Didn't really know what was happening. But my parents and a whole bunch of Indian families at first, and some other cultures as well, started a church, underground church in Saudi Arabia. To this day, I don't know how they did it by means of like communication. There's no text. I don't even think fax was a thing or something they used. They're not supposed to be paper trail. So just Jesus and really good communication skills. They had this church underground. We had to smuggle Bibles in and out of the country. Well, let me take that back. Not had to. We wanted to.
Come on.
We wanted to take the gospel there. And my parents are the people who we tell them you can't do something, they're going to do it. So I get that from them. So don't give us a red button to press, because then we will. So yeah, we had church once a week on a Friday night. Took hours to get people in there. Took hours to get people out of there. All because you had to go in the dark with people watching the streets, soundproof rooms, one or two guitars. That was our whole band. So photocopy
Whoa.
Bibles, the whole thing.
So
Yeah.
you were telling me on our trip to Israel that,
Mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong. In fact, I'll just kind of tee it off and you fill in the rest of the story. But you used to have Bibles like duct tape around you. Is that correct?
Yes. Sometimes duct tape, sometimes just like in our clothes, basically where you couldn't see it. So I'd wear like really large clothes and it'll just be in there. My brother would carry it in his little diaper in the back. I don't know how sanitary that was, but
As a father of a 16-month-old boy, it is not sanitary back there.
yeah. Yeah. My mom had it in her abaya, which I'm sure you know, like the black dress. You have to wear it. So yeah, just carried it that way.
So like what did shoot, I don't even know what to ask at this point. What did you take out of that a whole experience that you guys were maybe not even you necessarily realizing it, but risking your lives for the Bible?
What did I take out of it? We knew very young, though we had to grow up very quickly. We knew not to talk about it. Death was something I knew to happen at 4 or 5. Because you had to teach your kids. My parents had to teach them, hey, like, I know you're like 4, but listen, like, if you talk about this in school, like, not only are we going to die, everyone's going to die in our group. So, like, let mom and dad do the evangelism, let them do the welcoming. You just be children, be obedient. We had a whole playground inside of our home. It was too risky and we had kids come over, we'd go over, too risky to go play in the regular playgrounds because who knows what a 4-year-old's going to say about come to church with us. So yeah.
That is just such an incredible bonkers story. I guess as someone who risked their lives at such an early age for the gospel and for Bibles, now someone who lives in San Antonio, Texas, where do you see that gap where it's like we take it so casually here, and yet you grew up literally risking your lives every day for this message?
I am just thankful for the freedom to be able to carry my Bible. I actually have one right here, and it's sitting with my window open. Like this did not see the light of day when I grew up. In fact, I think we had one Bible for our whole family. Um, and you couldn't really like drop it on the ground or anything because it was so reverent, this holy book, you know. I remember even when we first came to America in 2002, I was 11 years old. We went to this church, which is an above ground church, which is, in my mind, I was like, you guys are worshiping Jesus like in broad daylight? Like, you don't got people coming to like kill you? You know, like PTSD, survivor's guilt, all of that. And my mom gave me my first extreme teen Bible. And I was like, they make Bibles for kids. This is amazing. I love America. So yeah, I love the freedom. I love it. My mom gives us a Bible for every occasion because that's her gift.
Wow. What a perspective, man. Thank you for sharing that. So, you know, sometimes, okay, one more question about that, then we'll get to Israel. You know, sometimes I feel like people, one of the things I hope most about Israel Collective is that I can give people a joy for this, right? Is that they would have this excitement in this joy for this word. As someone who's, again, not to rehash, but has really risked her life, and you see people that are like, reading scripture. What would you, because you do like, you know, youth ministry for girls as a national speaker. What do you hope to instill into young people about just how incredible this book is?
Oh man, that to not take it for granted that so many people in the world are risking their life. But I do have to say that should not be your motivation. Like, people are dying for this. So it's not a guilt-ridden way to start reading scriptures. You should want to go to this because it is living, it's inerrant, infallible. Like, this is it is so alive. And I have never once, after reading a Bible, even after like a lull, like, I don't want to read my Bible, like, I've never once read my Bible and walked away thinking, what a waste of time. Never once. So it is worth your time. It is worth the effort. It'll be so worth it because you will never walk away regretting it. And the fact that we get to have Bibles, man, they've got them in hotel rooms. Like, what is America? This is incredible. You know, so yeah.
Now for you watching this video, aren't you glad you clicked on this? Because I'm encouraged. I'm inspired. Man, Blessie. Whew, bringing the heat. You know, let me transition. Was Israel your first time back in the Middle East in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, it was.
And I know we've talked about like the juxtaposition. Can you kind of walk me through that?
Oh, yes. There were times during the trip, I kid you not, I reverted back to like 11-year-old. Like, how are people out here, like how are you wearing basically the same clothes? But like, we are so openly saying Jesus. Like, part of me was like, this is unreal.
That's amazing. And I think that's one thing that people take for granted is that, you know, in that same Middle East where you, again, risked your life, here you are in a place where there's Muslims, there's Jews, there's Christians, there's under law, like you can, it's freedom of religion. What was that like, I guess, just kind of seeing I don't know if the word's Western so much as, I don't know what the word might be. How would you describe what you saw there in more detail, if you would?
I saw people being able to worship Jesus in freedom. And I keep saying the word freedom a lot, but for someone who was persecuted for believing in the truth, like when there's this thing in you that just knows this is the ultimate truth, like open your eyes to see it. Like, why are you condemning people for worshiping like the only source of joy and love and light in this world? And the juxtaposition was in Saudi Arabia, there was so much darkness and our little community was light. And here there was light everywhere, little piece of light everywhere. And you're right, there are Muslims, there are Christians, there are other religions around, but there was no silencing the truth. And to me, it felt like a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Well, I could talk to you for a long, long time. Your husband's amazing too. He's a recording artist, Hilgy, Hilgy. Look for him on Spotify, right? Spotify?
Great, yeah, Spotify. wherever you listen to music.
There we go. There we go. Actually, he was recording with Dylan Chase and who else was he with? Five, a music video on the Mount of Olives, which is cool. It's all just part of this trip. You were there, and it was just like 20 of us, and like Dylan was like, "Hey, you want to be in our music video?" We're like, "Yeah." So we're just like on the Mount of Olives. Have you seen this?
I have, yeah.
That was wild. All right, let me just wrap it up because again we could talk for a long time. What's something that you learned about God, something that stuck out to you about Israel? It could be more than one thing, just a couple more nuggets of things that God either taught you while you were there or that you experienced that you weren't expecting to experience, or a favorite moment, kind of open-ended. And I'll let you just say your piece and then we'll wrap this up.
Absolutely. The first thing was that I was so thankful to even be on this trip. When we first stepped there, it's a different country, but so much of it is similar. Like the aroma, the language, like just like the cadence of how things are spoken. It was almost like I was lifted back into like my childhood. Sure, I can go to a Mediterranean restaurant here and I get a small taste of it, but the foods, the smell, the bread, the hummus, the cuisine, all of that, and even the people. Like familiar faces, not personally, but you know what I mean. Like they're wearing the same abayas, the same outfits. It felt incredible to be there, being able to walk where Jesus walked. And it's such a cliche thing to say, but I kid you not, Raj. Like I was like a little girl, but like Jesus was here, Jesus was here, Jesus was here. Like even on where he did the Sermon on the Mount. And in our group, I'm not sure I'm saying this right, but Linconi, is that how you say his last name?
Mike Licona, yeah.
Yeah. And he, when he said, when he recited the whole Sermon on the Mount to us, I remember reading through it growing up thinking, what would it be like to hear this in this spot and to experience that I can remember just like I wasn't able to speak right after. It was almost like I was in tears. I just needed a moment to walk away from that.
You know what's kind of wild about that is I don't know if you might have heard of the name Mike Licona. He's a very, very famous apologist and academic. And what's kind of I just thought about this is he's probably, not even probably, definitely the most renowned scholar in the world on the resurrection of Jesus. Like he wrote the book. It's literally called The Resurrection of Jesus by Mike Licona. So the guy who literally is the guy when it comes to like the historicity of the resurrection of Jesus was the guy that gave this from the Mount on your trip. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that was such a blessing.
What's something that people might have a misconception about the land?
People might have a misconception in that we expect it to look like it did during the Bible times, but that like in Tel Aviv, when it was, I believe, the last day we were there, just looking at buildings and all the construction and the modernness of that whole place. People even think of Saudi Arabia that way. Like there's just sand and there's camels, which there is a lot of that, but people live there in like now 2020, they have cell phones. So a misconception is that it looks like it did back in the day, but it doesn't. But the beautiful part about that is it's almost like otherworldly in that you are standing next to a person on their laptop, on their cell phone, but then you're walking down like cobblestone streets. And then that like the Bible happened right there, that's my favorite part.
It's literally a trip. And as someone who's been there 26 times, I'm still dumbfounded. I'm a rookie. I'm a novice. It's literally a place you can go over and over and over again and just what? It's like it's an endless well. As this book is, and you go to the land where this book was written, it's bonkers. Blessie, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for sharing your life story. Thanks for dropping some wisdom and some hope and some encouragement. Love you. Give a hug to your husband for me, all right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Raj. So good to see you.
So good to see you. Love you, sis.